I think the biggest leadership lesson for every one of us to live in this time.
Actually depends a lot in terms
I have got a question. I got a question because she.
Can I was just going to give another supplement what Arnath said after that. So look, it also depends on where you are. So if you're a Nifty 50 fund, then you're looking at the comprehensive, which is, where are the scores, and in a sense maybe you can't do much, except what it leads to is engagement. You can go to companies and say you've got a low score on this aspect, what are you doing, and you've got a low score relative to the 50 companies. When you're looking at a larger, someone who's investing in the 500 companies or the 200 companies, they have the option of investing. And I can assure you, a lot of them then kind of take a sectoral view. So when you're comparing, you will compare the performance of on the environmental score or the ESG score or the parameters which you've chosen for cement, and you'll compare them with each other. Similarly, you look at banks, similarly you look at IT companies and so on and so forth. So all you're saying is the data is there, which SEBI is kind of ensured is there. How individuals look at it will vary on the fund which you are running. Sir, your question?
So I had one question. I just wanted to take a point.
Let him do.
Waiting for long.
Okay, so I just wanted to take the point that where Mr. Ravi Raj left, that if there is an organization which is whose top line is contributed by multiple business lines, right? Then how do rating agencies go about it? Because it is always thought that sector specific or line specific. But there are companies which are dealing with different business lines, right? And they could be varying from what the other business line is doing. So one thing is that it is difficult to identify what are the material topics, categorize them in one particular sector. So how do rating agencies go about it?
Yeah, thanks for this question. I'll try to address that. Rating diversified businesses where there are different business segments in a particular company definitely involves greater exercise, greater analysis. The starting point is whether the company is disclosing data segment-wise. If there is a company which is doing cement, power, steel, let me take an example. Say the BRSR disclosure has to be given cement, power and steel. If the company is not giving us breakup of the data, then tell me what is the solution? If I am getting a consolidated data which I am not able to segregate between these three business segments because the emission intensity or the water usage, the power usage is very different across different segments. If I have the data, so let me take another example where I have data of segmental data for three different segments. If you look at financial reporting has to be segmented, right? How you decide the segment is, there is a guidance, you have to give segmental reporting. Similarly, if the company is providing segmental reporting on BRSR, it is an easy job for an ERP to do it. We will look at that particular segment, say cement. We will compare the intensities of the cement business with companies who are manufacturing cement, power and steel similarly. So एक कंपनी की रेटिंग करने के लिए हमें एक्चुअली हमको वो तीन कंपनियों की तरह देखनी पड़ेंगी each unit, and then we aggregate based on कौन से सेगमेंट का कितना कंट्रीब्यूशन है from a revenue standpoint, or if we can look at profit standpoint or capital employed standpoint. So that is the difference in the methodology of which ERPs will have to look at. पर अगर segmental data मिल रहा है तो ये आसानी से किया जा सकता है.
But I think the current BRSR does not allow business line wise reporting.
Ma'am, you want to take that question?
Can you please repeat?
So I just wanted to elaborate that the current BRSR does not allow business line reporting. If it is consolidated, then it is overall consolidated. It does not allow business line wise reporting.
See, here I would say that as a regulator, when we have devised something, ERPs for ESG ratings, they are following the format of the data that they have to submit. As she stated that if they are giving the consolidated data, they will not be able to bifurcate it themselves. They have to take data separately with sector-wise. otherwise also, I want to highlight here that when you look out, you see the mutual fund industry on the whole. If you see any particular scheme having a portfolio of sectors, various sectors, it's a mixture of different companies, right? Do you see any kind of sector-specific schemes? And this is just for the discussion purpose, because your question is pertaining to whether why not sector-specific, or that question of why not sector-specific rating. So my answer would be that when we look out a consolidated picture, the output is better. So in that case, I would relate that rating would be better. So let's talk in that terms. So I hope I was able to tell you that is the intention behind to have that kind of a format in rehearsal.
Now I have a question. Would you recommend a separate rating system for the financial services sector?
Why not?
Now again, as I already said, we don't intend to have that sector specific ratings or sector specific, because sectors are very, very dynamic and volatile, if you see. Don't you think so? As you said, now today that war is going on, so defense sector is growing. Then you say something else is growing, renewable energy, electric vehicles coming, some sector is growing. So as a regulator, we feel we cannot be biased towards sector specific guidelines or sector specific.
Well, I want to just add to this point, if I may, Ravi. Let's understand who are the users of ESG rating, okay? And whether do they really need sector-specific ratings. It's my personal view, and I'm a big time votary of having one standardized rating scale for all the companies in the country because of the use case. If I have different rating scales for different sectors, then as an investor, I cannot use that specific rating for a financial sector vis-a-vis a cement company, because they are not comparable. The scales are different. If I have a single rating scale, I can compare the rating of cement company to that of financial sector, because my scale is same. I understand where you're coming from, and I have a solution to that. From an ESG rating standpoint, the impact of financial sector on environment, I'm just taking an example of environment, we can extend that to social also. Impact of cement sector to environment, impact of service sector to environment is very different. It is the job of the ESG rating provider to have built in the methodology to differentiate that. That is the proprietary intelligence of an ERP, and that is how one ERP will be differentiated from the other. We cannot have similar weightages given, say, on environment factors to all the sectors uniformly. It is not possible because the impact is different. So there is a solution to that which will ensure that the ratings scale or the final rating is sector agnostic. If I am able to achieve that, only then users are going to use my rating. Otherwise, it will be a chaos. So the problem statement is with ESG rating providers. They are supposed to decode this, how they are going to do this, how they will figure out the varying degree of impact of sectors on environment and social, and build that into the framework so that the final rating is sector agnostic.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I generally attend the inaugural events, but I deliberately had parked myself for the valedictory because my interest was in the ESG. And I am very happy to note while we are discussing the ESG, ESP is also working. My question before raising has already been raised by the panel moderator. I was going to raise that question when the SEBI representative was sitting here, and she said, unless the voice comes from the podium or from the other side, that decision will not be taken about the consolidation or standardization of the ESG norms. You see, Madam rightly said that we are talking about a serious concern which is global in nature. It is not India specific, it is Earth specific, right? You said. But then we should also consider that we are not driven by the companies, organizations, sectors who are sitting abroad. Because even in the same industry, the pollution of them is different, pollution of ours is different. Even if you talk about the cement industry, I work in the cement industry, they are known for polluting industry. But now they have improved a lot. And quite possible there are some cement industry abroad, they are polluting a lot. Because of them, the stringent bylaws or regulations are there. So we had to be considerate who is doing wrong and who is doing good. And I come from the aviation industry, and we know that we are not talking about the aviation here, but they are the most polluting because they are alive. They make their reputation as a good. And no one is talking about the aviation here. We are talking of the Tesla, we are talking of the cement industry. But that's why you must see, you should not get cover or you should not get under the camouflage which those companies are making. So our point is very simple. We should not make this concept very complex at the earlier, because the moment we make it complex, later on we will be fighting to make it simplified. So go for simplification, standardization, as we work in the algebra, start taking out the common sector out and concentrate on the common sector and leave the complex items to the industry specific. Thank you very much.
How the cement sector is working. This is what I wanted to defend.
I completely agree to you for so long. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, I mean, on a very, very serious note, I am Sanjeev Jha, I represent JK Lakshmi Cement. Since morning I have been hearing about the cement sector. You know, all of us do understand that cement sector is a hard to abate sector.
I know that.
But we also need to be mindful of the fact that, you know, the transportation, the cosmetic industry are also one of the largest, you know, the contributor to the GHG emission. Having said that, since the entire audience also need to understand, cement sector is the only sector which is an eater of every kind of waste, whether it is slag, whether it is the fly ash, whether it is the hazardous waste, whether it is the plastic waste, all kinds of waste. And cement sector, if the circular economy has to move forward, cement sector probably would be the single most contributor to that.
Now, I just want to highlight that the example of cement, at least taken by me, was anecdotal. But I would like to also compliment the cement companies. In my experience of looking at 1,000 listed companies in India, I think while cement manufacturing process is there, I mean, it's an impact which creates to the environment, we understand, but I think that industry and the players in the industry have been one of the most transparent in terms of putting out disclosures. I think most of the cement companies, what we have analyzed, I think we have been able to get all the data what we need to do the analysis. So to that extent, from a transparency standpoint, I think this sector really stands out in terms of the data which is being put out.
Even from, generally, the Indian cement sector has done very well from a sustainability point of view because of the initiatives which they've taken. So, where of that, sir?
Yeah, and I would also compliment you, sir, for the points which you have highlighted and very rightly put on the aviation sector. Because of time, I don't think we can discuss all the sectors, but I completely agree with your point of view.
One point on the sector-wise point. BRSR is just one input. So when we are analyzing companies, we are happy to take more inputs and data and analyze it at our end with full discretion. So that option is also available from an ESG rating point of view. It's not that one is only limited to just BRSR. There is more, even if in terms of internal data which can be provided, at least we at ESG rating look at it because of our different model.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shikha, and I am a sustainability practitioner from the past 5 years in this domain. And my question is to Sarika ma'am. And my question is related to one of the attributes of a BRSR core, that is reporting in the value chain partners. I completely understand the intent of it, but when it comes to a reporting of it, it is very difficult on the corporate part. And so for you, my question is, what kind of information the regulators are seeking from the corporates in the terms of a reporting of a value chain partners? And even if we do that, there is a condition to it that 75% of an upstream and downstream needs to be considered for that, right? So we do have a large corporate players in our value chain. So don't you think so that there is an overlap in the reporting and there is an unnecessary